Real World News TV with Reggie Kearney and Chair Ann Tappan, bringing you news and politics. Real World News TV every Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Central, and 8:30 on the East Coast. Real World News TV, the most interactive, longest-running radio and television show under the Hot Topics Talk Radio Network. Real World News TV, where your comments and your views are welcome. Real World News TV, news for us, by us, that affects us all. Real World News TV.
Good evening, and welcome to a new edition of Real World News TV. I'm your host, Reggie Kearney, and tonight we have a fill-in host, or the host, the boss, Fantastic, who's a little under the weather tonight, so I want y'all to send up prayers for Sherry Ann. She's a little under the weather tonight, but we got the boss lady here tonight. No, she'll hook us up tonight. Right, Tony?
No, I don't think so. You see, I'm over here struggling, trying to run all these different things at the same time. So, excuse me for that.
Yeah.
Hi, Derek. Hi, Miss Jacqueline.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the topic tonight?
Do we have to? Do we have to talk about Ice Cube and what he's not doing, from N.W.A. to MAGA, the Ice Cube controversy? We could say the Ice Cube and 50 Cent controversy.
Yeah, as we were discussing a little bit before we came on air.
It's a hot mess. A lot of these guys, granted, they struggle doing their lives, the younger lives, growing up as kids and stuff. They have a lot, and then they make it, they strike it out, they make it, I guess you say, so-called, getting out of the hood, they made their way out of the hood and stuff, so they think they've come. So I think a lot of times they get confused about their coming out, and they say and do things that are just dumb. Really just dumb.
Well, let's jump right into it.
Mm-hmm.
How's that with tonight's topic? Ice Cube. So I think it's been a couple of weeks since I think that we've seen his first the news on the first of this controversy, but I don't think and let me go back to what he was proposing. So he was proposing an agreement or a contract for Black Americans, the acronym N.W.A. And he was proposing it so that we could possibly bridge the wealth gap between people of non-color and African Americans or people of color, which this country has faced since its inception, right?
Right.
But I think that because when it first broke the news, it was that he was working on this contract for blacks, Black America, with the Trump administration and Donald Trump himself.
Right.
But not until he decided to not only give interviews via radio and magazine or newspapers, but until he actually gave that interview to Chris Cuomo, was he able to explain to the American people or Black Americans what his purpose was. So when we first saw him sitting with Chris Cuomo, what was your reaction when he was explaining what the outcome was?
You know how they say in the hood, "In please," okay?
Yeah.
Now, he would have never addressed the issue if one of the guy in the White House campaign people hadn't posted on Twitter.
You don't
Okay,
think? I think he would have addressed it.
he would never been explaining himself. Okay, he was just kind of stayed under the radar. But when the young lady posted on on Twitter that, hey, look, guess what? Guess who's helping us with our and look, and they got the nerve to call it the platinum plan. Now, come on now.
Right, but wait, but what I'm understanding from what I'm reading or had been reading today, because I was, anyway. So
Mhm.
I'm just now reading up on all the particulars of this story. Is that the platinum plan, as it's called, that was something that was already in place or had been starting to be developed by the Trump administration. So basically, they took the contract for Black America. They took that and renamed it under something that had already been established or had been written.
My thing is, why they call it the platinum plan? What they got to do? Platinum, okay? Why couldn't they give it another name? Platinum plan. You know.
I mean, I'm because when I when I was reading it, when I was reading it, I'm thinking there are a lot of undertones to that.
Yeah.
A lot of undertones.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that a lot of people were paying attention to that when they called it a platinum plan. Well, the platinum plan was already in place.
Mm-hmm.
They were just putting whatever his contract was down in place of the platinum or placing for the platinum plan.
Right. But look, let's just take a step back forward, okay, and then come back to this plan. Now, this is my thing. A lot of the stuff that Icy had in his plan, his so-called plan for Black America. Okay, a lot of that stuff, see, he didn't do no research. He just jumped down into the fire and just did his little plan. Okay. First off, what teased me off is who made him spokesman for the Black community, okay?
I was thinking
that's the first thing. That's the first thing. Did he talk to any of the people in the civil rights community, in the civil rights movement now? Reverend Barber, Reverend Sharpton, any of the congressmen, any of the Black leaders in the community? Did he sit down and talk to any of them? Or he just woke up one morning with his toboggan on his head and thought, hey, I'm going to start I'm going to step up to the plate and I'm going to create a Black plan. Now, if he had done his studies, he would have seen a lot of that stuff that he wanted in his plan. CBC had already gotten Congress to pass bills addressing a lot of those issues. The problem is, little Mitchie is over there in the Senate and won't allow the bills to come to the floor. Okay, so look, you didn't do nothing to me. Now look, for this book right here, 2006, okay? Travis Smiley, cover of Black America. Did little Ice Cube, who's melting, did he read this? A lot of the same stuff that Travis Smiley brought up in 2006, we're still dealing with today. Okay?
But let me ask you this, because I had a hard time, and I'm not sure if it's something that maybe I was overlooking today in doing some reading up on this, or if maybe I wasn't looking in the right place. Now, this contract for Black America, I didn't see any particulars as to what it's mainly addressing, other than just hearing from Ice Cube himself in interviews and what is written, that is just to be able to bridge the wealth or to increase the wealth of Black Americans. There was no sure foothold as to how you plan to do that. Right. I couldn't find anything. So how do we know what he is supposed to be doing for us? How do we know when
Well,
you can't find anything that is of concrete nature to
mhm.
say, oh, okay, now I understand?
Well, Roland Martin let him have it, you know, because like he said, he's light on content. You know, it's like he's just rambling along with some stuff, you know, that hey, this is what it is. You know, this is what we need in our community and all this kind of stuff.
But how do we
You know,
get that? That's what I'm saying.
with the
Nothing. I didn't
with the
see any.
contract with the contract with Ice Cube's contract.
But how do you write a contract that's empty, that doesn't have a body,
But
it doesn't have a basis?
that's the whole problem. He didn't consult anyone. He's sitting down playing around like he's working a coloring book and drawing pictures. You know, yeah, okay. So then he got kind of, you know, upset because Biden folks told him, said, look, you know, this is something, you know, good, all right, but you know, if we win, we'll sit down and talk to you. You know, he wanted a conversation with them right away so they could discuss, I guess, in their campaign about the plan.
But there is no plan. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, he said he got a plan. It
But
might,
okay,
it's
then that doesn't make him any different or any better with his plan of what Trump is saying his plans are for, universal health care
yeah,
or this pandemic, because he has still not given us the
right,
body of the plan.
right, right.
So I'm trying to be nice. That's why I don't come on this show that much. I'm really trying to be nice because, like you said, how does he speak for all Black Americans or people of color, when you haven't even told us what is the plan? You just say that we want a contract. No, I don't want just a contract. You need to tell me what the hell this contract is and what the basis of it is. How are you going to bridge the gap? How
Well,
are you going to build wealth in the Black community?
mm-hmm.
He's never said that.
Right.
And I think what unnerved me more was the fact that, okay, so you go to these two people where you figure, oh, they've got power, right? We're in the midst of an election.
Right.
And right now, what we are trying to do is remove Trump from office, correct?
Right.
So you then say, oh, well, since Biden's campaign people wouldn't talk to me and Biden says wait until after the election, then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to talk to Trump. And we don't know if this bastard is still going to be in power in the White House at all. And the way it's moving, because the numbers have been just off the charts with voting to get him out. Why are you delivering a plan that has to do with Black America to someone who is not going to be in office or possibly won't be in office? Then what? What?
I think a lot of it is some people have the notion or the desire to be the leader. You know, I mean, I really feel like down in his mind and in his heart, he really thinks he's doing something for the Black community. That what, like I said again, tease me off. Other people are working on the same thing, have been working on this stuff longer than he has.
Right, because the Congressional Black Caucus has had this in place since what, 2016?
Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden he comes up with this idea that had already been worked out. These are people who are career politicians. Career politicians who sit on the Congressional Black Caucus. And don't you think that they've already put these things in place, or they've already got a plan?
Yeah.
He should have gone to them in the very beginning.
Yeah. When you look at it, I'm looking at it now, it is short on substance, like under representation, bill to guarantee Black opportunity representation, maybe 100 words, okay? Lending reform. This is lending reform. Black lending would be regulated to require banks to lend a percentage of all loan and credit categories on an equal basis to the black population each bank serves. However, the minimum threshold must yearly meet the percentage equal to the national black population, which is 13%. Rates on black loans federally and from banks to be the same average rates as whites. That's everything he has there. Okay? It's no how, what, or anything to get to it. How do you get to making sure that loans and stuff represent 13% of the population of the black community? For me, 13 freaking percent, that's nothing.
That's nothing.
So he pigeonholed there. Then number 6, data and personal data and credit. Most states publicly release bulk data about arrestees unchecked, like the 1970 Fair Credit Report and regarding credit data. There must be guidelines regarding arrest records that allow similar privacy and accuracy, and go on the credit services will be reformed to mandate consideration of individual consumer data on rent, utilities, cell phone, and other light bill. That's it. That's all he does, okay? Then he has one down for Confederate institutions, elimination of all Confederate session, uses of displays of Confederate flags. That ain't, look, that don't even need to be in the plan, okay? We already been addressing that issue through the marches in the South and in our areas, okay?
Yeah.
Let me see. Under black responsibility, 200, maybe 100, not even 100 words, okay?
What was that?
Chronic poverty creates an atmosphere full of negativity, frustration, and so on. These are some of the conditions that plague the black community, which is dealing with extreme generational poverty. As we begin to gain social and economic equality, it is our duty to clean up ourselves and our community. This contract is a two-way street. As we gain social and economic equality, we must begin to dissolve any bitterness in our hearts of past wrongs. We must become better citizens who are more productive on all levels of American societies, and we really must step up after we pass the contract with Black America. No more excuses left in the kitty. Our entertainment, so.
Again.
Yeah.
That does not have a whole lot of meat and potatoes in it. When you talk about a contract, it has to be something that is going to be beneficial, not only for the side of who you're writing for, but how does that play into the benefit of the folks that you're forming a contract with? Because no matter what, if, say, for instance, that this contract was taken just at face value and someone says, okay, we're going to, make sure that black folks have a better standing as far as economically. Don't you think they want something from us?
Yeah.
So I'm not understanding where, okay. You mentioned, because there's so much to unpack. You mentioned being better citizens. How are you going to hold the black community, black people in black communities, accountable for what is considered good citizens? How do you measure that?
Right.
How are you going to measure that? And if somewhere someone falls off the train of being a good citizen, then what happens? Does the contract go away? Because we're talking about breach of contract. So these are very loose. I mean, I've dealt with contracts for damn near 30 years. So I'm not my head is about to explode. It is. My head is about to explode. And I think what bothers me additionally is that the fact that he, as an African-American man, a black man here in the United States, would not sit down and have a consult with other black leaders who have been in the trenches for many years, and then all of a sudden want to push this so-called contract or agenda to people who make laws. They can make these laws basically to trap us. So I'm not understanding how he felt that he was now the spokesperson for Black people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he does, when you open up and go into the 22-page version of it, okay, and not the bullet points, then he does go a little deeper, okay, still not deep enough for me, but look, under Black America's responsibility, he says falsifying documentation to establish descent from an enslaved person punishable as a crime. Okay, so we had a couple of white ladies that thought they, went around acting like they were black for a while, so that'd be punishable as a crime. Black businesses receive loans per lending reforms with over 100 employees may employ at least 50% non-black employees. Okay, so if you receive loans from outside sources under lending reforms, you got to have 50% non-black if you have a black-owned company, 100 people or more. For all Americans, completion of rehabilitation programs for at least 28 days for the first offense for illegal drug use or possession. Failure to complete results in imprisonment. All Americans guilty of a crime and apprehended agree not to unreasonably resist arrest, putting others in danger.
Wait, say that again?
All Americans guilty of a crime and apprehended agree not to unreasonably resist arrest, putting others in danger.
I'm like speechless. And that doesn't happen often. Are you kidding me?
I mean, he goes he goes a little deeper into it, but I still, it still doesn't meet the test as far as I don't know. He has something here he calls calculation metrics. Okay, compensation for lost wages. Huh?
Where are you looking at that?
Contract with Black Americans. Just put in Ice Cube's plan. Okay, and then you'll see it come up.
You've got to be kidding me. So, okay, I don't know what the hell this is. Okay. So instead of looking at for incremental reform, the contract with Black America tries to address the root causes of racism in our society and develop a roadmap for a comprehensive solution. Well, first of all, the root causes is racism. It goes back to slavery.
Yeah.
So this has been ingrained in American history from inception, as I said. So how you're going to change the minds of supremacists with this contract for Black people is beyond me.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's got a lot of substance, but it doesn't bite. It's not a biting contract. Something that they're going to look at and say, this is what we need. Because if you look at the whole contract, hey, look, 80% of it now they're going to try to do. Okay.
They're not? Or what'd you say they're not going to do?
No, 80% of it they probably won't even try to do. I mean, I think you do need to address prison reform and poverty in the neighborhoods. You need to address education and stuff. It's just a lot of stuff that does need to be addressed. But I mean, some of his rationale and his theory behind, he doesn't have a whole lot of good theory behind his plan. So I mean, I still think he should have spent time, reading up on what has been done and talking to the people who have been involved and brought more people in to help him with it. Okay. All right. But, like I said, the CBC been trying to get things done for years, ever since they, have come together. It's a slow process, I mean, even if Biden wins, do you think Biden gonna really sit down, take this plan, and implement and go for it? he might take certain parts of it that
He
he's
might,
already talked about.
yeah, exactly. He's not
You
going to
know,
take it in a whole.
yeah,
He's
he's
not going
not.
to take it in a whole.
I mean,
And
even if it was Obama, Obama wouldn't take it in whole. Okay,
no, no, no,
you
no.
know, because at the end of the day, not like the scrub we got in the White House now. He's supposed to be president of the United States. Okay, he's supposed to be president for all people. So you got to. It's a balancing act that any president has to play, uh, except for the guy who's in the White House now. But you have to balance
Right.
what you do in the country.
So, Alan Strother made a comment in Watch Party. He says commitment has to come from each and every black man and woman to make a change. You know what? Okay, so I agree in part with what you're saying, Alan. But then the other portion of this means that we have to, or there has to be a commitment from those who hold the power of making these things happen. Because just because we commit to it, if it's not put into law or there is legislature to, move forward with this, then our commitment really doesn't mean anything. Because a lot of this, to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, to me it speaks to the beginning of, say, reparations, because now it's forcing the federal government to say, oh shit, we were wrong, and they're not going to do that. That's what it is. I mean, this to me is like forcing the hand to admit wrong. They'll admit that slavery happened. They'll admit that Jim Crow is, well, I don't know if they'll admit that, but they'll admit to certain atrocities that had been put upon black folks or people for those years, but they will never say it was wrong. Not to the point where you get into this contract for black people, which is leading to reparations. That has been something that has been fought for how many years now? That's the way I see it.
Yeah. I tell you, it's there is so much stuff that needs to be done to move the black community forward. If they could even get started on, I don't even think what years I have left on this earth I would even get to see it all completed. Because first you got to find a starting point. I mean, we do need to have some type of criminal or justice reform. Okay, we have the majority of the population in the country in prisons. Overwhelmingly, the population is black. The black population is strong in the prison system, and we're like maybe 14-15% of the population, but we are the majority in the prison. So we need to work on criminal justice. We need to work on prison reform. That is something that has to be done. Then we got to take that and try, while we're trying to do that, is get some type of educational reform to get our kids educated, get them to college and get me, and a lot of them get meaningful jobs and stuff. And then we got to look at how do we put more money back in the community to create businesses. Okay, but the biggest obstacle now, and I've heard reports on it, is this pandemic. That because so many people are out of work now, the ability for blacks to create wealth among themselves and within their households is going to continue to diminish each year because of this pandemic. I mean, the plan, the contract. I mean, like I said, in 2006, Tavis Smiley wrote a book, The Covenant with Black America. A lot of that stuff is in there, and here we are 14 years later, and we're still talking about the same stuff.
Yeah. Let me go back to Jacqueline's comment. Jacqueline says that now there is talk about a black political party. Another distraction. I need people to stay in their lane. Just get yourself to the polls and vote. So I do agree with the fact that we've got a lot of distractions going on. I do have that agreement. I do agree that we do have to sideline the distractions and get out there and vote. What I am going to add to that, Ms. Jacqueline, is that even though we know that this election is probably one of the most important elections in our lifetime that we'll see, because of all of the things that we have been put through within this last year. Just in 2020, we have not seen so much chaos from one administration that in the history of this United States. And I don't think that there'll be another one, because this is going to take so much time to fix. But while we are in the midst of the most important general election in our life, we still have to put in place some of the things that are going to have to take hold so that legislature can be formed for us to get ourselves out of this mess. So some may think that there are a lot of these things are distractions. You can call this Ice Cube controversy a distraction, or you can look at it as, okay, so he's saying this, he's saying that. Why can't we get something in there that is a little bit more concrete? Make it so that people understand, so that we can put those things in place. Don't just say, this is what I want to do. Some may think that these are distractions. However, they are stepping stones to where we have to go. We just have to make sure that they're put in place right. So that's the way that I can address Jacqueline's comment. But I do want to go back over to Watch Party. Alan says, the white establishment consistently banks on our inability to work together. Those who hold power will commit once they fear our commitment and cohesiveness. They have never seen it on a large enough scale. That is true. Take, for instance, where we are when we talk about the death of George Floyd, the death of so many other Black men and women who have come before him in death. They have never seen such a scale of uprising when it comes to race. Let's go back to Rodney King. That was the first time we had seen anything that was televised of the brutality that African Americans have faced in this country for decades. Okay, so now we're in the age of technology, that everyone has a cell phone. Everyone is a witness at this point. We have never seen anything as large as this, all packed together in 1 year of 2020. You've never seen this scale of not just Blacks who are protesting. You've got whites, you've got Asians, you've got Hispanics, you've got Islanders, Native Americans, you've got everybody who is now pushing back against the establishment. So when Alan says, that they won't fear us until there is some cohesiveness, I tend to agree.
He's right. I mean, he makes a great statement, because we don't work together because slavery took that away from us. Okay, they beat it out of us. Okay, they didn't want us to work together. Okay, then when we did come out and work together, the prime example is the rise, the Tulsa rise. When we did come out and work together, and they saw we were smart enough to create our own banks, our own schools, our own funeral homes. and do our own thing, have our own business communities, and not depend on them. They thought we were getting too uppity, so they squashed
They tore
that.
us down.
You know, Rosewood. You look at
Right.
Durham, North Carolina. The way they were doing things in Durham, North Carolina. You got so many examples around the country where we were cohesive. Okay, but then we lost that. Okay, then what they started doing, you know, they developed the Klan in the early part of the 19th century. They started hanging us. They tried to keep us in our place because they knew we had the knowledge and the power to be cohesive. Okay, and we lost all that because, you know, you look at education reform. You know, they don't teach Black history in the schools no more. Okay,
Right.
you know, and then you got the guy in the White House doesn't want sensitivity training and all this kind of stuff taught because he said it's decisive, it's racist, okay, you know, and we got to realize that with HBCUs getting money, federal money, if this thing was to stand, and I think a lot of this stuff, you know, we've got to hope that Biden will get elected because he'll squash it, then HBCUs will lose that federal funding if they even
Correct.
talk about the
Right.
disparities that are taking place in the sensitivity, the insensitiveness of the white community that's taking place. They'll lose that funding. Okay, it's a lot
Mhm.
of things. So, but when I look at it, if okay, a lot of young men have been afforded the riches of life through professional sports and
Mhm.
entertainment. Okay, now if they could come together and be an example to work together and do things like LeBron has done, opening up a school in Akron, Ohio, and there are other athletes and entertainers that have their own foundations. If all these guys could come together and develop a concrete plan, the Black community could move so far ahead. And like Alan said, they would be upset and scared.
But you have these folks that we're talking about that have this economic power, you know, within themselves,
Mm-hmm.
within themselves. But I think that history has shown us that if you make it, why would you go back and help someone else? You
Mm-hmm.
got very few that do that. You know, as
Mm-hmm.
bad as people talk about Oprah, she spreads her money. She will spread her money. Now, is it all in this country? Well, no. But she tends to spread her money where there is a need. She's not
Mm-hmm.
squandering her money. You've got LeBron James, who has come out and he has, you know, lent his name to certain movements, lent his know-how and his money. So you don't have that. You don't have that character with everyone that has money, who has
Mm-hmm.
come from nothing and has built something. The unfortunate part is that we still back them when it comes to their records, to their music, to going to see their sporting events, uh, watching them on television, giving them their Nielsen ratings. You know, we still support them in all these different ways, but we won't hold them to the fire as to coming into the communities and actually showing your part, doing your part to form some sort of cohesiveness, to bring people back. If you want to be an idol to young people, show them how to put something together in their community.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want to do that
Mm-hmm.
because there's a certain amount of ego that doesn't allow for that. That certain amount of ego causes selfishness. So God knows, I wish they would.
Yeah. And
You know,
then
because they're the ones that have that media power.
yeah. And then then 50 Cent throws his 25 cents into the mix, you know, talking about that he was going to support Trump because of the tax plan, that Biden's tax plan would take too much money from him, but he didn't sit down and analyze Biden's tax plan.
Biden's tax plan.
You know, he didn't do it. Now, this is my thing with 50 cents minus a quarter, 25 cents now. We need
Uh,
to boycott him, okay?
uh,
We need to boycott his shows. We need to allow him to see and put him back in the position that he was when he didn't have nothing, okay?
yeah, yeah. And but see, that's the whole thing, because before we came on air, you had made a comment, where someone had asked you that, or told you that they were surprised that you weren't a Republican because of, of your status, right?
Mm-hmm.
I find that asinine. I find it asinine
Mm-hmm.
because you are that damn selfish that you cannot lend your know-how to someone, or you can assume that someone will be a Republican because the Republican Party is synonymous with money.
Yeah.
It's synonymous with money. So I found that interesting that you brought that up. I just
But that's their thinking. They think that everybody who got a little bit of money should be following them. You know, heck, I paid more taxes than that knucklehead paid last year.
right.
You know,
I
we
think
all did. We all did. It's not
we all
about me. It's not about me trying to obtain a certain amount of money. It's about getting things done that are right in this country. Okay. And,
exactly.
yeah. Now I'm gonna give Milton Q some props. Okay. He at least he started something. But I still think he should have done this maybe a year or two ago in planning. If he felt like this was a road he needed to travel, and
Mhm.
met with people who have been doing this and allowed them to assist him with developing a plan. Now, the thing is, if he had developed a plan with people out of the African American community and politicians, they would have told him, said, no, you can't go to the person in the White House and strike up a dialogue with them in order to get something. Because we have already seen we can't even get a daggone stimulus package passed that's going to take care of people in need right now. Okay, you know we can't even do that. But then you're going to take your plan over there to share it with him, and he's not even doing nothing for the community as it is right now. People are suffering.
Yeah, because you're talking about bridging the inequality of the wealth gap,
Yeah,
right? African Americans, where you've got more African Americans out of work today because of a pandemic that this fucker won't take care of. I'm
yeah,
sorry I use that word because I'm really
mhm,
trying to stop cussing,
yeah,
but it doesn't make sense. Instead of you taking a package that is going to take mountains of time, right?
hmm
To get in order for all black people, why didn't you try and approach it on the level of, look, this is what we got going today, you know give him a plan, work with the Congressional Black Caucus, if you're trying to keep it a black thing, but
hmm
make it so that it will help people in a more immediate nature, because we're dealing with the immediate. You've got people who have been out of work for the last 7-8 months, right?
hmm
They don't give a shit about after November. They're trying to figure out something now.
hmm
Work with the individuals or some of the people that are in the community, some of your community leaders.
right.
Work with your mayors, work with your governors, work with your representatives, and all. If you want to do something, do it that way.
hmm
You'd have a better chance of having something work and stick if you start at the lower level than going to the federal government. Whole lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape.
hmm
You're talking about mountains and times of signatures and approvals, and all this shit has to be approved by the Senate, by the
hmm
House.
hmm
Why would you do it that way if you're so concerned
Right.
with Black America?
hmm hmm
You toured for everything else. You toured for your Chronic album. You
hmm
toured for your movie premieres. Tour for that.
Well, like I said again, even though I'll give him a few props for doing what he's doing and sticking out, he still doesn't speak for the black community. Okay, yeah, that's just the bottom
No.
line of it. That's just the bottom line of it. And a lot of times I think these guys, like I said earlier, forget where they come from. Especially 25 cents. He's forgotten where he come from.
You call him in 25 cents?
Yeah, because this is the bottom line. If the whites don't want him to have nothing, they'll take every daggone thing away from him
Oh
that he's
yeah.
got right now. Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
If they don't want to support him with money, helping him with his shows anymore on Showtime, they could break him right now. He
Pull
doesn't
that
realize
plug.
that.
Yeah, they can pull that plug.
Anytime. Showtime could call him tomorrow morning and say, "We don't want your shows no more."
Exactly.
Black folks could get together tonight and tomorrow night, call Showtime, and have all his shows thrown off of there.
You got that right.
And there another network to take his shows. Even there P. Diddy to help him out with his Revolt TV. He better not help him.
Yeah.
We do have power in our community. And for him to say, he don't care that, he hates blacks, but he got a good tax plan. That just shows you think somebody who's trying to be an astute businessman would be more intelligent than what 25 cents is because of the comment he made.
You don't care he hates blacks.
Yeah.
And how is that going to work for us?
It's not. It's not going to work for us. I mean, we're struggling out here to try to get something done in our communities, and you got guys like him. And look, let me tell you something. He's not the only one. There's probably others out there. You look at Charles Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Shaq. Shaq comes in where he won fair and square. Who gives a that he won fair and square? Look at what he's done to America and what he's done to the black community.
Yep. I mean, I can't disagree there, Reginald.
Yeah.
I cannot disagree.
50 cents, the article, let me see, that's coming up now in the New York Post. 50 cents backs Trump. I don't want to be 20 cents on Biden. Some of these Negroes, okay, just don't get it. Okay? They just don't get it.
They don't have to get it because they are not, they don't want, whether they read Biden's tax plan or not, they don't want to take the chance of having to pay more taxes. Period. They're worried about their wealth gap. They don't give a shit.
Yeah. They really don't. And then, like he said, 50 cents then wrote, I don't care if Trump doesn't like black people. 62% are you out of your effing mind? Talking about the 62% that he only paying. Yeah. What kind of BS is that, Negro?
All right, then.
Your butt can still be locked up in jail for drugs, okay?
Yep. It's just amazing. It is amazing. But, unfortunately, Miss Jacqueline, there are distractions. And I don't even know if I want to call them distractions. I just want to say that there are some pebbles in the road. And there are those pebbles that when you step on, they surprise the hell out of you. That's what this reminds me of. This is just a pebble in the road. It's not a distraction. It's just saying we have to start thinking of it as, wow, this just opened my eyes to who I've been buying music from.
Mm-hmm.
This just opens my mind to who I watch on Showtime or Stars or HBO. This is who I am backing and supporting. And they're saying shit like this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't show them, I don't feel that they're distractions at all. I think that the more people talk, the better I am. And the reason why is because it makes me think that now we have an inside view of who these people are that we've have been supporting for so many years.
Yeah.
Just because they are Black people.
Yeah.
Some of us are going to get it and some of us are not.
Yeah. And he don't realize that if they were in dire hardship, that the Trumpsters wouldn't even help them out. If they needed CPR, you think them Trumpsters are been over and give them CPR? Heck no. Just because he supports Trump. All these blacks with Trump and all this kind of stuff, I just look at how ignorant they are in the way they operate, okay?
Yeah.
My thing is, okay, at the end of the day, you're going to vote for who you want to, okay? That's your business, okay? But don't get so caught up in the Kool-Aid. You're going to support somebody who can't stand you.
Right.
Hates your color, hates your race.
Right.
That's just that slave mentality, okay? That's that slave mentality that you didn't never lose. You haven't matured. You think so the thing about it, you got the field hands like us. We're gonna always be out in the field working. So master ain't gonna never invite us in the house and work in the kitchen. But then you got the kitchen Negroes like the Trumpsters, the blacks for Trump and all this kind of stuff. He'll let them come in because they're gonna be, yes sir, master, yes sir, master. Master, you want me to polish your shoes today and everything. Trump has been, I came across an article. I tweeted on his post. I tweeted to him and that, how he put out a lady, she was like 84-year-old stroke victim back in the day in New York City. He evicted her because she couldn't pay her rent.
Yeah, that part. Jeez. I can't believe this hour went by this quick. So we've got 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, they don't look. All these Trump-loving black folks, they're gonna reap what they sow.
Yeah, but you know what my thought is, Reggie, is when all of this is over, come November, right? God willing that there is an overwhelming amount of votes that come in so that there is no question that he could even try and go to the courts and delay this thing, okay, without them calling it. But in some ways, the media is telling us that, to have fear that on election day that there's going to be a backlash of white supremacists and different white movements that are going to be organized to hurt blacks. That's what they're trying to feed now, right? I just have this feeling that you might have some overzealous white boys, fine, we can handle it.
Yeah.
But I truly believe they're going to crawl back under that rock.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was telling somebody that today. I said, we sitting here losing sleep, hair turning gray because we worried about it's going to be a race riot or something like that. I said, something, the day after the election, everybody going to go back to business as usual. They say, oh, well, my person will win, my person will win, and we'll just have to wait 4 years and see what happens. Everybody will go back under their rocks, Yeah, the biggest mouth running that day after the election will probably be the guy who's in the White House now if he loses, and then he'll be trying to, he'll want investigations in a 2-month period, to prove that he won, But for the most part, I think people realize, other than, you have a group of whites out there, and you saw that with the guys who wanted to kidnap the governor of Michigan. You have, you always gonna have a pocket of resistors out there. Gonna always think they can change things, okay? But I think for the vast majority of the country, regardless if you're Republican or Democrat, white or black, you realize that where else you're gonna go in the world that will, even though things ain't perfect over here, okay? Things are far from being perfect in this country.
Right.
But what other country can you go to and enjoy some decent freedoms?
You can't.
Nowhere. I mean, so I mean, yeah, is this a perfect country? Heck no. But will I move somewhere else where the living conditions are, maybe 2 times worse than here? No. I enjoy my hot water.
No.
With, But I mean, we got our issues. But I think at the end of the day, everybody gonna go their own separate ways, and people be fussing. Fox will be still telling lies for the next 4 years. You know, it's something we just have to deal with.
Sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Very, very sad.
But
Very
you,
sad.
but you like you said before Biden can look at anybody's plan, he got to get this country back together and get it established in the world again.
Yeah, that's true.
You
That
know,
is so true.
he's got
Very,
to
very true. I'm actually trying to pull up for tomorrow night's show, all of that. See, I can't, it's hard for me to host and do this because my brain is not, it's not attached very well. Not at all.
Right.
So, 1 minute. What you got to say?
These guys got to realize what we had given them, we can take it back from them. Okay, you know, and they got to understand that they need to be, if they want to help the black community so bad, they need to be leaders. Okay, you know, they can't be, you know, acting like 50 Cent's acting, you know, he hates people, I love my money type of mentality. We got to get away from that. We got to be, you know, I just wish these guys become more community oriented and put back in the community. I'm not telling them to give everything they got, but if they come together collectively, they'll be surprised at the number of issues and problems they can solve. You know, instead, because you can't die and take all that money with you. Okay, somebody, you're gonna leave that money back here for somebody else to spend for you.
Right.
So use it wisely. You know, be a steward to the community. You know, help take care of your community, help build your community up. And that's where we fall short at. We just won't help build.
Yep.
You
That
know?
is so true.
Yeah, we just won't help.
Yep. So we just got to do our part. Do our part. And like Alan had mentioned earlier in Watch Party, we have to try and somehow build a more cohesive race. We really do. This is hell. We've all gone through this bullshit for 2020. Every last one of us. Nobody has escaped this. No matter what class you're in, no matter what color, we've all been through this together. So now we got to change how we've been doing things in the past, you know, and if we have to look back at what we have suffered and gone through throughout these last 7-8 months, then that's what we have to do. You have to keep that in your head so that you can start to build a better surrounding and a better environment for not just you and your family, but for your community. You know, you have to do that. We got to remember and not forget what we have gone through in the last 7 and 8 months. That's the only way we do it.
Yeah, and this is the situations we face here in this country and the world are a long ways from being solved, because you're talking about most economists say it's probably going to be, we're looking at 2023, maybe 2024 before we even see normalcy with the economy.
Yeah.
You know, that's a long ways down the road. You know, a lot of people are hurting, and a lot of people go, I mean, gosh, we haven't even gotten through the evictions yet.
No.
You know, I mean, cities and states keep pushing, you know, limiting eviction. They keep pushing it away. You know, but even if they can push it down the road kick the can down the road for a while, these people still got to get jobs.
Yeah, they still gonna have to pay back some of that money.
Yeah.
You know, we just have to remember where we are right now, what we've gone through, in order to get this country back on track. You have to. You have to remember that. A lot of work, but we can do it.
Yeah.
We can do it. So let's wrap it up.
Yeah, let's call it another night, you know. And the last thing I want to say is to all my friends and my peeps out there tonight, please vote. Please vote. Please vote. I'm going to tell y'all something. I'm going to tell you why y'all need to vote. I spent the weekend in North Carolina trying to get my mother set up with my brother and I getting her set up with 24-hour care. Okay, unfortunately, she is at that point in her life where she needs 24-hour care. But when I called her today to check on how things are working out with the women who are working the house and everything, she said one of them took her to vote this morning. My mother, 85 years old.
Wow.
She went and voted this morning.
Wow. My mom and dad went last week. Yeah,
they curbside voting because her situation. They bought the ballot out to the car. So you all need to tell y'all friends and your family and your children, they need to get out and vote. And my mother is 85 years old and in bad shape and go out and vote. I don't want to hear nobody saying they can't vote. Okay, thank you, Tony. Go out and vote, please. We need to change this, especially with Tony being on Nevada, Arizona, those states like that, North Carolina, where my mother lives. We need every vote we can get because these are swing states, and we need to make sure that Biden gets those electoral college votes. Okay, so that's all I'm asking. Go out and vote and wear your mask. You do that for me, you be my best friend for life. Okay.
Amen to that. Yeah. Amen. Amen. Yeah. All right, so we're going. Jacqueline says she voted. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here, y'all. It's been nice. We've enjoyed you and enjoyed the conversation extremely. But tomorrow night, I do invite everyone. This is gonna be a good show tomorrow night, Reggie. Tomorrow night we are doing. Where is it? Oh dear God, me and all this stuff. So tomorrow night on Hot Topics Talk Radio TV, Diary of a Tired Black Man.
Oh, I could have been in that one. I'm a tired black man.
So let me tell you where it comes from. I'm not going to hold you up too long, but one of our viewers, one of my Facebook friends, Mr. Thomas, he sent me a message over the weekend, and he says, "T, have you seen the drama documentary, whatever it is, and it's on YouTube. It's called A Diary of a Tired Black Man." And I thought, no, I don't think I did. But then as I, actually found it and I started watching, I'm like, oh, I've seen this. But I didn't see the documentary part of it. If you have not looked this up, you need to. You need to look this up. Diary of a Tired Black Man on YouTube and watch it. The most interesting thing I've seen in a long time, okay? And we always talk about how Black women feel about certain things, right? How men are no good, all men are dogs, that kind of stuff. Well, this docudrama you've got to see. So before tomorrow night, you need to go on YouTube and look up Diary of a Tired Black Man. I think it's about an hour and a half. Take a look, because that's what we're going to be discussing tomorrow night. And Mr. Thomas is actually going to be sitting in as a guest co-host with me and Yvonne Baker. So tomorrow night on Hot Topics Talk Radio, Diary of a Tired Black Man. The show starts at 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific. No, we changed the time. 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 9 o'clock Central, and 10 o'clock on the East Coast. That's Hot Topics Talk Radio TV tomorrow night with me and Yvonne Baker. So I'm hoping to see you. But for Real World News TV, make sure that you follow them right here on Facebook. Chera was out tonight. She's not feeling good. So I really, really want you guys to, send up your prayers for her. She really needs prayer. So send up your prayers for her for fast recovery. And send your get well wishes to her. But you can find Real World News TV here every Tuesday night. The show always starts at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 Central, and 8:30 on the East Coast. Make sure you head on over to our website, catch up on some past shows, and even, kind of dig around in the website, get to know us. and just see the resources that we have there for you. But you can head on over to the website by going to hottopicstalkradio.com. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get out of here because we're running about 8 minutes behind of getting off. All right, so I will see you guys tomorrow night, but make sure that you check on back in here with Reggie Kearney and Cherry Ann Tappan next week on Tuesday. Okay, we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Tomorrow.
Good night.